What is going on, everyone? To all the sheepdogs out there, happy Friday. Got a lot of questions regarding firearms for police officers and training. I never do any kind of training, although while I was a police officer, I was a certified firearms instructor. However, I never get on social media and try to pretend to be some guru on shooting. I enjoy shooting. I've been shooting for a very long time, since I was young, and I've grown a proficiency in shooting. That being said, I see a lot of mistakes made by especially police officers, and I've said this before, I'm not afraid to say it again. Police officers are some of the worst shooters I've ever seen, and that's a common thing among trainers, people who have done high-level training. I've heard that time and time again. I've trained with SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, and time again I've heard the same thing from these trainers, which is when a police officer comes to their class, typically the regular, average, everyday Joe civilian is a better shot than the cops. Now, my hat goes off to any police officer that goes and trains with one of these high-level men or women that are great instructors, because most of the time, if you're in a class like that, you're probably doing it on your own dime. Once in a while, your department sends you, but most of the time not. So I'm going to go over two things that are very common. Once again, I'm no firearms guru, but I know a couple of things. I've been taught quite a bit, and I'm going to share two things on this video. First of all, I want to make sure everyone knows that this weapon is safe. I'll probably get banned on Facebook for this, but clear, empty, no ammunition within a mile of this filming location, and the magazine is empty. Okay, so I'm just going to put this in here. All right, so when you have a firearm, one of the most important things when it comes to shooting accuracy that I was taught, that most people, when they're new to firearms, this is one of the first things they'll teach you, which is your sight picture. Your sight picture is what you see before you pull the trigger. Now, once again, if you are a tactical ninja and you know all this, you're, Joe Sniper, you're a killer, you're all whatever, fine, that's great. This is for the people who have reached out that are clearly not law enforcement, or they're new in law enforcement, or maybe they're a new gun owner. So if this is something that you know, awesome, good for you. You get your ninja star and your gold star and everything else. But this video is for the newbies, okay? Because at some point, no matter how good we are at any one thing, at one point we were a beginner, right? At one point, LeBron James did not even know how to shoot a basketball, probably at a very young age, okay? But he didn't even know how to shoot a basketball, all right? We all become proficient as we grow. So, sight picture. Front sight in between the rear sight, okay? So I'm gonna come into the camera here and show you what that means, okay? So you have your rear sight here and your front sight here, and you wanna line that up in line with your point of aim, okay? So I'm gonna actually bring this in here and show you. So you see the rear sight here, you see that little slit right there, and I'm gonna show you the front sight, and it's a nice green iridium sight, okay? So I'm gonna actually level this down. So there you go, you see that green dot in the front? And I'm going to try to do this backwards on the screen. All right, so right there, I'm going to come in close to the camera here. I've never done this before, so I want to... Okay, right there, what you're seeing, which is that green dot in between the two rear posts, okay? You see that green dot? Let me come up to the sky a little bit so you're out of the trees, okay? That's what you want to have on your target. That green dot right in between those two rear sights, okay? And whatever your target is should be right in front of that green dot, okay? So that's how you get your sight picture, okay? So a lot of times when you're training, they'll say this is the rear sight, this is the front sight, and you want to have that all three across, lined across evenly on the top. You don't want to have that front sight over here or anything like that, right? You don't want to have that front sight high or low. You want it even across the top, so you can almost put a level across the top, right? And you want it dead center, okay? That's your perfect sight picture. And then you want to have that dead center, that green, on the point that you want to hit on your target, okay? So that's the basics. Once again, you could do a whole weekend class on sight picture, but for those of you asking about proficiency, you guys saw some videos of me on the range shooting. You're like, okay, how do you shoot that accurately? Remember, speed comes second. Accuracy and fundamentals and mechanics first. Speed comes second. Speed is, to me, what people try to do too early. They try to shoot fast too early, and they end up, their fundamentals and their mechanics start breaking down. So you get that sight picture down. So I'm going to bring that up once again so you guys can see that green dot there. You want to bring it up in between right there, okay? And you want to get that dot in between those two rear. So you get your target right on that green dot, all three lined up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the trigger wall. This is where every mistake happens when you're shooting. And the trigger wall is when you pull your trigger, there's a little bit of slack. I'm going to actually do it this way. There's a little bit of slack here, okay? There's a little bit of slack before, all right, you get to that point where the trigger almost stops and the very next movement is going to cause the gun to fire, okay? And that's the trigger wall. Every mistake, every miss in shooting happens within that little bit, that take up, okay? Because you see people slapping the trigger, all right? They're slapping the trigger and it's moving the gun and they're ultimately missing. Once again, there's a whole lot more science to that and whole lot more technical stuff, but I'm keeping this very low level. So the key to being on target and hitting your target is to keep that sight picture, and when you're pulling up that slack in the trigger, you pull until you get to that wall. And then right when you get to that wall, that very next, you keep it steady, and that very next movement fires the gun. And a lot of people say the gun firing should surprise you. And when I'm on the long gun, every time I shoot, it does surprise me. When you're on the range, you're doing stuff more dynamic with the pistol. Not so much for me, but that might be for everyone else. So I'm gonna once again come in here and I'm gonna try to show you what that trigger wall is, okay? And I'm going lefty here for the camera, okay? So actually, let me switch around. I'm gonna switch around here. Okay, whoop. All right, here we go. Here we go. So I'm gonna come up, okay. So you guys saw how much movement I had before the gun went click. All right, so I'm gonna start here. See that little bit there? Okay, I'm coming in. And there I'm at the wall. And the next movement is gonna be there. I even had more to go, okay? So once again, you're bringing up that slack all the way to that point where, all right, you see all this slack coming, and I'm gonna actually open this up so you can see. You see all this slack, keep going. Now I think I'm at the wall. Right now. There you go, all right? So you see how far, you'll see on the release, when I release the trigger, how far it comes back. All right, watch closely. I'm gonna start the pull. Now watch how far it comes back. There you go. So you see that there is way more slack that you have to take up than you might even think. And in that area, right, in that pull is when you lose your sight picture. That's where everyone goes off a little bit, and when that gun goes bang, that sight picture is off, and that's what causes the miss, all right? So that little bit you see here, as I'm taking up the trigger, bang, that's where you miss. That little area there between when you start the trigger press and the wall, that's where your miss will occur, right there. So if you master taking up that wall efficiently and quickly, right, without slapping the trigger, and if you master that taking up to that wall and keeping that sight picture, and then boom, the gun goes off when that sight picture is perfect, you're gonna have the perfect shot, okay? So we see a lot of videos where police officers get in shootings and they're sending rounds, lots of rounds, and they're not hitting, right? Because there's trigger slap, all right? The gun's recoiling, they're not even resetting, and they keep sending rounds, right? And there's all that slack that's not being taken care of, and that sight picture is not aligned, right? So for all the new officers that reached out and for all the new shooters that reached out, many people just got their first gun, okay? So this is a very low level, very basic tutorial. Now, are you good to go with this? No. Take the time, spend the money, hire a firearms instructor, go to a range, and get some lessons. If you think you could do it on your own by watching YouTube videos or Facebook videos or whatever, you can't. You need to hire a qualified, certified instructor and have them show you the fundamentals over the course of maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. Get that training, get those fundamentals under your belt, because that is the foundation. Because the day that comes that you need to pull this out for whatever reason, you don't want to be nervous and you don't want to be unsure of how you're going to do. This is not something that you utilize and you pray, you hope that you use it properly. There should be no hope when it comes to a firearm. So I know there's lots of new shooters out there. I get it because of what's going on in the world today. But just going and getting a gun and getting a box of ammunition and keeping it, like, you know, hidden in your house for when the bad guys arrive is not enough. Go get some training, go to the range, go through a training program that some instructor locally to you has. Make sure you vet them, that they know what they're doing, and get the training you need. So I hope those of you who asked the questions about the fundamentals to accuracy from the standpoint of, you know, a very basic shooter, I hope you got some value from this. These are the things that were taught to me by dudes who have done way more crazier things than I've ever done in my life and are way more trained than I will ever be in my life. But I spent the time and the money to go and train with them. I flew around the country. I've flown to other countries. I spent the time and the money to go train with them, and we're giving you a little bit of this. We're gonna have some of these people putting together lessons in the 221B Tactical Sheepdog Training Nexus. What is the Nexus? A lot of people are asking, what's this Nexus? The Nexus is a training platform for law enforcement, private security, for citizens, responsible citizens that want to know more about tactical training, firearms training, tactical gear, all right? So a lot of these videos on a lot of these platforms are being throttled, they're being taken down, they don't meet community guidelines and all this stuff, right? So we created our own platform where we're gonna house all of this content and all of this material. You're gonna have podcast interviews, gear reviews, tutorials similar to what I did today, but more advanced, way more advanced. And you'll be able to access it 24/7 right from your phone from anywhere in the world. That gives you the confidence knowing that you have it all in one place. It's a whole library, and you have a web of people you could interact with just like any other forum. You know, there's car forums, there's gun forums, there's people who collect, you know, crazy weird doll forums. Well, this is going to be a forum that you can connect with other forum members from around the world, and if you are in that part of the world or in that part of the country, you can connect with them live in person. You could, you know, do a meetup, and maybe they have a firearms instructor you could train with. Maybe they are a firearms instructor, okay? So you have that ability, and it's all in a private closed network. Videos are never going to disappear mysteriously, and it's going to be just for you, your own little private library that you know is not going anywhere anytime soon. So that's the Sheepdog Nexus. The link is on our website. If you want to sign up, or if you want to click the link to learn more about what it is, you can. There's another video on our channel about what the Sheepdog Nexus is, so check that out as well. Listen, in this day and age, with everything going on in this world, we need to make sure that we have the training and the knowledge, right, in here to survive, right? Because if we don't and we get into a situation, we're going to be scared. And fear is born from lack of knowledge. Fear is born from lack of knowledge. So when you have knowledge, your fear is decreased and or eliminated. So just remember that, okay? Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Remember, always watch their hands, watch your six, and get home safe. Out.